All right, welcome everyone. We are back at the station tapes coming from Rope-a-Dope at an undisclosed location. My name is Louis Marks, and today I have the great pleasure of interviewing the incomparable Claudia Acuña. Claudia, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Louis. It's very excited to be here today. And I'm happy.
Fantastic, fantastic. I was listening. So your new album, Duo,
Mhm.
coming out on September 23rd on Rope-a-Dope, is a very special project, and I was familiar with you, and I've heard your music before, always in the context of a playlist or maybe a YouTube video, just sort of a random, not a sit down and put my full entire attention. And I queued up this album, and this really interesting thing happened to me. I just heard your voice, and the first thing my brain registered was how is how is that possible? Is that a person? Like it is so it's transcendent. And my question to you, start this off, is do you notice that when you hear your voice?
No, in fact, I have a really hard time hearing myself, and I'm very self critic,
Mm,
and I have to pace myself, and it's taken me years to like myself on that and listen to myself and not be like, oh, did you hear that? Or, oh, I didn't like that. Or I get feelings and sensations, and it's taken me a long time to enjoy it and appreciate that part and be patient, believe it or not.
interesting, interesting. I mean, it is an amazing gift. It I think of what an orchestra would be going for, to try to
Mm,
transcend and be a voice from above. And
mm.
you seem to just have it right away, and it's really, it just kind of hits you right here. And so,
Thank you.
thank you for that. It's not a surprise that you had a stellar cast of musicians come and join you in the studio for this record.
Yeah, I
I have
just
a
have some guys,
Yeah, a couple of
a
friends.
couple of friends.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about. Well, let me just go back for people who are unfamiliar with your music and your story.
Hmm.
Let's go
Hmm.
back a little bit to the beginning. Um, can you tell me about your childhood and when you
Sure.
first began to sing?
I was born in Chile and I was raised in the south of Chile. Um, I've always wanted to sing. It was something that, as a young teenager and not too long ago, I would really, it really thought, I had a strong thought that I was a reincarnation of someone who came to finish something that they
Mm,
didn't in another life. Only because I don't really have musicians in my family, and it was not something per se that my parents then were so happy to get the news that this is what I wanted to do. Um, I moved from Concepcion, to make the story short, in 1990, um, to try to fool a little bit my parents that I was going to go to study music and classical music, because at the time in Chile was not such a thing as a popular music or jazz school, so you
right.
were either study classical or nothing. And for my parents to like, okay, at least she's gonna do this, and it's formal and she's gonna get a degree. And it was just an excuse to be able to move from the south to the capital. And I left really quick because obviously I did not want to be in the classical music, even though I love it and I appreciate it. And then I started doing gigs, hotels, whatever, festival, club, etc., etc., with my eye on moving to New York. And what I did, I moved in 1994, October 8th.
Hmm.
with a bag of dream
You remember the
and
day, yeah?
another bag with my precious things. Very little English to say I'm being kind to myself because it was really little English. And then I arrived to New York
So, did you have a
and I
destination? Where?
did a bunch of work at the beginning, co-check, babysitter, cleaning houses, walking dogs, because I couldn't afford to go to school.
But you
And
knew someone
around
here, right? Was there a destination when you came? A friend, a
New
cousin?
York was my, I had like a family friend that sort of welcomed me with, a map for the subway, and I have
Hmm.
to pay for my room, you know?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's the first thing that changed your direction, that kind of where things caught on for you once you were here? What was the big break, so to speak?
You know, I came with so many dreams in a way, but at the same time with zero expectations because I have never left my country. So I
Hmm.
had, I felt like I have so many breaking moments that it was a reassurance that something was coming, that I was really blooming in a way with many ideas and things that I would have never been able to do in Chile. But I guess, one of the first time, it was the first gig that I had as a leader,
Hmm.
and and I have the support of the musician and the people were excited. And then, a really change of my life. It was when I was signed by Verve, and I had two albums with them. My first one, Rhythm of Life, and then I'm sorry, Wind from the South, and
Hmm.
then Rhythm of Life. And that was a turning point. It was I broke a lot of barriers there. For me and for other women like me.
Yeah.
And after that, I did Luna with Max Jazz. And after that, I did En Este Momento with Marsalis Music.
Incredible.
And after that, I had a little gap in life. Things happen,
Family.
and
Mm-hmm.
family and life's challenge and things. I was still active, not maybe as strong as I was before, but I was still doing projects and very interesting things that I was doing, and I put out independently, uh, Turning Pages, which got me my first Latin Grammy nomination, and I was the only woman nominated in that category, which it was huge, for me. And as an
That's really big. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's still a long way to go on that front, but at least now we're
yes,
seeing more women in the mix. We had an
yeah.
interesting, uh, or I had an interesting path with that. Uh, we get records all the time, and it was very easy for me to say, well, 95% of the records that come in are from men. So therefore, that's why we have so many men on the label. But I
Mm-hmm.
learned in doing a live stream during COVID, where we had, some of the women who have released records with Rope Dope and some other guests um, um, on the show. I want to. Is Oscar Peterson's daughter was on the show, and that it came up with, well, what are you doing
Wow.
to signal to women that you're willing to sign more women? And then
Mm,
as
mm,
soon as
mm,
I
mm,
put
mm,
that
mm.
out there and put that energy out told certain people, then we started to get a lot more submissions from women, and we've been able to
Wow.
put out some more records from different
Thank
women.
you and congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of it, and it's absolutely delightful. There's some truly great records, yours included. So we're the better for it, for sure. So you decided to go back to the studio at the strangest of
Yeah,
times.
at the strangest of time. like many artists, the pandemic brought so much and asked so much of us. But I must say, as an artist, and maybe some of my colleagues can relate to this, I didn't mind to be in a way in my home because the creative process, requires sometimes to you be isolated in a way or alone to start getting ideas. So I started writing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, I want to do this album, but I felt it was not ready. I needed more work on it. And I started looking at, cleaning things, and I found this CD that my dear uncle gave me years ago. And it says a little picture card and said boleros. And
Mm.
I started listening, and the boleros in my raising and coming up has a really strong input in my life, and I call them the standards of South America. And I also had a reminder of one of my dear friends and mentor, Mr. Harry Whitaker,
Mm.
which it reminds me of how when I first moved to this country, especially, I did at the beginning so many duos, so many gigs, just duos, and I even recorded a duet, two duets on my first album with Harry and at the time with Avishai Cohen on bass.
Mhm.
And I looking through notes and stuff, it came out this whole little book with duos and why I wanted to do this album. And I'm like, you know what? If I've never had the courage to ask some of these people that are in the album to be a special guest in my album, I usually have my band, and I had Brentford once because I was in his label.
Mm.
And way before Rhythm of Life, I had a couple of other guests. And maybe that was a very ambitious project, because with arrangements and things. And I'm thought to myself, I want to do this album and take a chance on this place that I feel so vulnerable and so simple. I feel the pandemic personally got me thinking about the simple things of life, the less, the appreciation of a little conversation. And I decided that I wanted to grab some of the songs that means a lot for me, some of them written by women,
Mm.
um, and call all these different people to do just a duet. The same like almost what we're doing right now. We're just having a conversation. It's just the two
Mhm.
of us. And we started from zero and we already going on different branches of this
Mhm.
conversation. And I wanted to do that and bring part of my growing up to these people and say, okay, I want to do this duet with you. What do you think? This is the song. This is why. And let's do it.
Can we?
And there was, mhm.
I'm sorry. Can we just back up a little for folks? I mean, I hear the term bolero. Um, it would be really helpful for me, and I think the audience, if you could sort of describe that a little more and explain what that means, what that is.
Well, bolero is a style, of singing and songs that it was really, really popular in an era, late 40s, 50s, and
Mm-hmm.
60s, and it's one of those styles that never goes old. Some popular people have brought up specifically those songs, and they're romantic. They usually are talk about love
Yeah, I think of courtship
and
or yeah.
courtship or heartbroken.
Mm.
Um, some of the lyrics I laugh because they're very dramatic sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, but but I have such a dear memories to some of them that I find that connection with the style, more than paying too close of attention of the lyrics unless it's something too extreme that I'm really have a strong objection
Hmm.
of singing those lyrics, you know. And I mix it up with a couple of songs from two composers from Chile that I admire tremendously, and the song means a lot to me, you know.
I enjoy so this is guilty pleasure, but I often will listen to music in another language because then I can enjoy the vocal without having the lyrics get in the way because I
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
understand them because I don't know the language, right? So I pay much more attention to your voice than I would if it were in English because my conscious brain is translating and thinking what it means to me, and with just hearing it in Spanish, it really just isolates and highlights that vocal performance.
Hmm.
Did the musicians that you chose and approached to be on the record were they familiar with the history of the songs?
No, no.
Okay.
It was really beautiful to share with them the history of the song coming from me and what it meant, and translate the lyrics and tell them a little bit the story, you know. It was great. It was such a pleasure, and that was also done on purpose because I'm like, if I play this particular song with this musician
Mm-hmm.
from this part of the world, you know, he'll immediately know the song. But what this other person who have may never heard the song, and when they learn the melody or the story, I, I want to know what they feel. It's like a conversation. I tell
Yeah.
you about, I don't know, churros rellenos with dulce de leche, and you'll be like, oh, I don't like dulce, and you try this after talking, and you have your own reaction from something that it might not be familiar, you know.
Right, and are they feeding that reaction back to you in real time in the studio? So you're actually together in the studio
Yeah,
for most of these tracks? Yeah,
all of them, because that's
yeah.
another thing. On purpose also, I wanted to do this to have this possibility of have a conversation to be done in the studio together.
Hmm.
That's why I didn't call other musicians that I could and I would have loved to, but they live in
Ah,
different states or country even. And at the time, you know, pandemic, I was not gonna risk or ask somebody to fly to do this, you know.
right.
So everybody that did this album lives in the New York area, New Jersey, the most, you know.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have to be confined to a given city, New York is probably the best one to get this
Probably.
level of talent. Do you
Yeah.
want to take one of these songs and pick one and sort of tell us of your childhood memory that accompanies it?
Sure. Um, let's take um, hmm, how about Manifiesto? Since
Hmm.
it's already.
I was hoping that would be one.
And I have the pleasure on this song to have my dear friend, amazing, amazing, amazing musician, beautiful woman and spirit, Miss Regina Carter. And
Just
this,
just named an NEA Jazz Master, right?
right.
This year, yeah.
And this song is called Manifiesto, and it was written by Victor Jara. And Victor Jara, for people that may not know, I will dare to compare him for us is like the Bob Dylan of Chile.
Wow.
And this song is manifiesto. I manifest, you
Mm,
know, that I don't sing just for singing, not even because I have a good voice. It's because the guitar is asking me to sing, you know.
mm,
Uh, my singing is for freedom, for, you know.
mm. So the original is a guitar and vocal,
Yes.
and in this case,
Yes.
violin, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's stunning, and it sounds. I was listening yesterday, and I kept coming back and saying, "How do I know this? I can't place how I would know it. Was it in a like a major film or something? Or
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but this is one of Victor Jara's very, very popular songs, from his book. People that know his music and know his story, it's one of the songs that people will recognize. I'm sure it was maybe in some of his own films about his life. I am not absolutely sure if it's ever been used in film. Um,
hmm.
but
Where did you first hear it?
I first heard this. His music was prohibited at some point to be played in my country, in the dictator Pinochet. I was raised in a dictatorship of Pinochet. And
Wow.
unfortunately, he was one of the people who was arrested, tortured, and killed.
Mm,
But I have
mm,
a classmate that her dad was some type of a pastor. I'm not sure because we were young. But he was very progressive to say the least, and I know he helped people. I know their family helped people to leave the country through their church, whatever. And my friend, we were doing some homework, and her dad had brought her this tape, and she was like, "Let's listen to it." And every time that I would go to her house, I was able to listen to this tape.
wow. Wow.
And it was three songs that really kind of like got stuck with me. This song, um, El Derecho de Vivir en Paz, and Te Recuerdo Amanda, which I've had recorded now my three favorite songs from him,
Y-
pretty much.
all three? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to digress into politics, but if I do want to tell any Americans who watch this interview to take a moment and go to Wikipedia and um, look up the history of Chile in that time, and specifically the United States involvement. And it's eye
Yeah,
opening and
it
important
is.
if you're going to live in the United States to understand the truth about that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, if you would like to comment on it, you please do. But I don't want to take away from the music too much. So,
That's another conversation.
okay, good. Yeah,
Politics and music.
yeah. Got it. Okay.
But yeah, yeah,
I'll never miss an opportunity to tell people,
yeah,
where to find some truth,
yeah.
especially here in the U.S. There's a song on here that, boy, I think I could just play it over and over again, and that is Eclipse de Luna.
Eclipse de Luna.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Who is that with? I don't have my notes in front of me.
Christian McBride. I'm
Christian
doing a
McBride, of
duet with
course.
Mr. Christian, my dear friend. Um, I love that man. He's just like so dear and a good people, good friends. I known him for a long time. I know his wife. He called me many, many years ago for one of his project to be the vocalist. And ever since, he's just so, so kind. And
Mhm.
he's one of my favorite bass players. And it's like, I knew that if I was going to do one duet with a bass player, he was my first choice to
Mm,
call. And,
mm.
and I'm very grateful that he accepted that he was in town.
Yeah, it's he is. We're very fond of Christian as well, and nothing but respect for that man. Um, you mentioned earlier on that you don't like to play it back, but I will ask the question: how do you feel
Yeah.
when you listen to the record now that it's sequenced and finished? And
This, I think, is one of the first time that I listened to something that I have done, and I don't have that immediately reaction.
okay, good.
And in general, in particular, I mean, for this track, it's like the way Christian started, it's just already like, wow, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's so warm and strong, and then it's like again, it's like another conversation, and I love this track. All of them, I do really, really like them, and I'm very it's such a naked album, because it's just
Yeah.
two people. It's very naked. It's very like vulnerable is the
Mm-hmm.
word. Um, and I really love the song. And it was so much fun to be in the studio with Christian. I'm sure we're gonna be sharing a little videos and pictures, and you're gonna see the smiles and
Yeah.
it was a lot of love in that room, and I'm so thankful for him.
We
It's
yeah
good to
we
have
will have
friends like
video
that.
material and some photographs to share as we bring this album
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Um, I did want to ask you about that vulnerability. Like, I mean, in addition to it just being that stripped down, just the two of you. I mean, was it? It seems like it would be harder to record. Uh, w- yes.
Mm, I don't know. For me, it was, I've always been a person who records live,
Mm-hmm.
in general. I'm too of a perfectionist in a way that I don't want to have too many choices. But also this, I wanted to take it like if we were performing live. And when you perform live, at least for me, it's something that clicks mentally, subconsciously, I don't know if I'm saying the word
Yeah.
correct.
No, I hear you. Mm-hmm.
um, that you're so present and you give your best,
Yeah.
and I wanted, um, I think because of that, I think it was no fear. It was just like, let's jump in the pool, woo,
You have to
together,
do it. Yeah.
you have to do it. And
Yeah.
I mean, someone like Christian is holding my hand, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I know, Regina and everybody, it's like I have nothing to fear, but just go with the flow and let the music um, be and live.
Beautiful. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I guess maybe put it the other way around that when you know that you're going to do overdubs or multiple takes, uh, maybe there's something that clicks subconsciously that doesn't put you like right in the game.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's like if I had that many choices, I think I was still in the studio. It
Yeah.
would take me years to finish a record because I will always find something wrong. And I have always think recording are like photography.
Mm,
You take the same picture 10 minutes after, a minute after, and it's not going to be the same picture.
interesting.
It's not good or worse than the other one. It's not going to be the same.
Right.
And it's such a memento that you capture. And I feel the recording for me is to be able to capture that moment. And if I record again the song, and I have different takes, like 3 takes of each song, for example,
Mm-hmm.
before I had to choose, etc. And they're all different.
Yeah. That's a challenge. Beautifully said, though. Um, I, I would like to just sort of wrap up a little bit here with,
Hmm.
it's 2022, and the music business is a chaotic mess, as it has been for some time. There's so much music out, and it's almost as if the quantity has overshadowed quality, and there's just so much that it's sort of we're becoming disconnected from the meaning or the beauty of the music. I want to just look at the camera and urge people to sit down and start at the beginning and play the record to the end and enjoy, get lost in it rather than just shuffling it. But I wanted to ask you, what do you hope that people can find in listening to this music, and what do you hope that it will do for them?
Oof, that's an ambitious question. Part of me, I wish that they can discover and enter this world that I'm trying to put in a little bottle, for
Mm,
me to live forever, and at the same time for people to enjoy the simplicity of this, the camaraderie is the word.
camaraderie, yeah,
Yeah,
French.
between cultures, different culture, ages,
Mm,
and how these two worlds come in service of the music, of something just as simple as a duo. I hope they can take a bath and enjoy it, have a bottle of wine or not, or take a walk, or I just hope that they enjoy it and take a little piece from my history and the music that I grew up,
mm, mm.
you
I,
know?
I have such that's so beautiful. I have such respect for musicians. The most intriguing thing to me about musicians like yourself and the many that I have the great pleasure of communicating with, it's really not the music. The music is wonderful, but it's this ability to find camaraderie, unity, rather than division.
Right.
There's a common language, as we often say, music is a common language, but it's you're the people that are speaking it, and so it's really a beautiful thing, and I think that's just such a perfect takeaway is that if people can understand that there is commonality always. You can always find a common space and a connection with people across any kind of culture and style.
Yeah, and music has that power, like I remember when I didn't speak English and I fell in love with this music, with jazz, and I didn't understand. I'm
Mm.
laughing now because I will hear songs that I listened then, and I'm laughing of understanding the lyrics. And almost like what you said before, you
Right.
love to hear music that you don't understand because you just go with the melody. Something moves you beyond comprehending or understanding the lyrics.
Mm.
And it's fascinating to me because I feel music has vibrations,
Yeah.
and we are vibrating all the time as humans.
Beautiful. Beautiful.